Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday and welcome back to our series Witch Life. We've been talking about things we can do with our hands and that which is within the power of our own hands to do all this month of March, and today we are dealing with seasonal tides. Because every season comes with its celebrations, and for pagans and witches, sometimes we're unfortunately on our own for these important occasions. So any preparations, rituals, activities, it's all up to us. Numero uno. You are your own one-man band. However, others are fortunate enough to have a coven or some other kind of circle or group to celebrate with, and that helps spread the work around, and it isn't just the pressure all on your own shoulders. But whatever our circumstances are, obviously we want to make sure that we are enjoying these important occasions and making them special. Based on my experience and what I've observed in other people, if we aren't invested in a seasonal celebration, we don't fully tap into the energy of the season or enjoy the festivities as fully as we could, whether they're with a group or on our own, just because we are not fully present. So in case you're worried, what is going to follow in this video, this is not going to be outward trappings or decorations or spending money you don't have. This is about actively attuning ourselves to the natural world as it waxes and wanes, and that requires our time and attention, not our bank account. So this brings me to the Wheel of the Year. Now, obviously, I am coming from a Wiccan perspective because that is what I practice, and it goes without saying that not every witch and not every pagan celebrates all or any of these spots. At least not the ones I'm going to discuss. However, there are myriads of celebrations and observances at different times of the year in paganism, and hopefully the thought process I'm about to go through will help you brainstorm for what's going to be applicable for you and your own practice. So let us begin with Yule, the winter solstice, the rebirth of the god, the beginning of the return of the light, exciting things. And these themes are manifested in the nature around us. It's a very quiet time of year and a vulnerable time of year. The faint rays of sunlight are a promise of the eventual return of spring, but it's still a ways off. And while this is a joyful time, it is also a time that is meant for rest. So everybody gets just a bit nesty at this time of year. Bring out your blankets and the totes of decor that you already own, but instead of getting stressed out about it or turning this into a chore, make this an opportunity to breathe. If you're decorating, do the decorating you feel like doing. Do what's meaningful for you and your family, and do it with a spirit that's about honoring the deities that matter to you. Have some cozy meditations. Wear something warm. Sit in front of a roaring fireplace if you have one. Keep a mug of hot chocolate handy and just meditate. Let it empty out. Declutter your brain from the past 12 months and allow yourself to be quiet and rest. Take nature walks if the weather doesn't forbid it, and provided you're wearing the appropriate clothing. And when you're out there, just absorb the atmosphere and contemplate what aspects of your life you'd like to renew in the coming year. That brings us to Emalk, which is about purification, having that first flush of return fertility, that dream of spring. There's a couple of brave flower species that are just poking their heads above the surface of the snows. The lambing season has gotten underway, and gradually we're getting those longer days, and there's a general restlessness in the atmosphere, kind of that cabin fever, only not quite so oppressive sort of feeling. This is the perfect time to take stock of your household and of yourself. What needs to go? What do you want to change? Make plans, detailed plans. Write a list so you have something to cross off and give yourself a sense of accomplishment. If something makes you unhappy or weighs you down or is creating problems, it's time to have an exit strategy. Get rid of it. And the Emalk season is just the time to put this into action. Set gardening goals. It will be time to dig in the dirt and tend the window box before you know it. And every plant has its own energy and personality, and all have multiple uses. So learning about the magical specifics of plants is a stepping stone for using that energy for our betterment. Then turn the restlessness of the season into a well of creativity. Make something, whether you're doing it to honor the gods, or to just enjoy the season, or because you thought it might be pretty. Make something. Now for Astara. This is a time of balance. The scales have finally tipped towards the light. Warmth is returning. The plants are beginning to grow with more confidence. And instead of looking inward, it's finally time to give our attention to external matters. So get outside. If you have a journal, take it with you. Write about what you've seen coming back to life, floral and fauna, just whatever you're observing. And if you're a good writer, this is a perfect opportunity to get really flowery with what you're writing. It's also an excellent time to take up nature hikes or at least go for nice walks. If you're lucky, you might happen upon a spot that a nature spirit likes. This could be the beginning of a new spiritual acquaintance if you show respect and play your cards right and, leave a goodie every now and then. It never hurts to come bearing gifts, does it? And also, by this time, we should be ready to dig in the dirt. This is time to turn the dreams that we had during the winter about gardens and flowers and herbs and veggies and all that good stuff, turn this into reality. And if you're feeling nervous about keeping the seeds you planted alive, do your best not to project that nervousness into the plants. Garden with hope in your heart. A new life is always a good reason for hope, and if you are focusing hope onto your plants, that's surely going to lead to a better outcome than if you are just projecting just despair and gloom and anxiety onto them. Plants are sensitive. Treat them kindly. Now, Beltane comes around. The god and the goddess are handfasted once again in this time of union. Flowers are blossoming. The world is exploding with color. Animals are breeding. It's all about developing that creative energy and the beginnings of the manifestation of that energy. So, might be time to check with your meditations. How are they going this time of year? Have you been diligent with it? And have these meditations been productive? If you feel yourself hitting a spiritual brick wall, consider trying another form of meditation to help reconnect with the season and also to aid your ability to flow with the natural energies that are native to this time of year. Pick some wildflowers. Try your hand at weaving a floral crown. Don't worry about if it's perfect or not. No one else has to see it if you don't want them to. But weaving flower crowns is customary at Beltane and really any kind of pagan celebratory time. It's a special thing to do. It's a nice skill to learn if you can get the hang of it. And it's a really pleasant way to while away a warm spring afternoon. And of course, carry on with your nature walks. Look for signs of the god and the goddess's energies playing out in nature. Think a lot about how this flow of projective and receptive energies and how you are observing that manifested in physical form. Journal about any of the thoughts that pop into your mind on this particular theme. Now for Lethas, it's the summer solstice and it's the changing of the guard between the Oak King and the Holly King. The crops are in, the earth is swelling with fertility, the heat sets in, and the urge to be just a bit lazy and soak up the sun, well, that comes around too. For once, this is just the correct instinct to indulge. Just as we rest from the activities of the year in winter, during summer we get a brief but a similar respite. That which is planted is still growing, but it's not time to harvest yet. It's just you need to nurture it slightly, but mostly just let the natural processes take place. So take the breather, take a nap in the shade, recharge. You might even try your hand at writing a bit of poetry or a brief short story in honor of the season. You could even use this as an offering to a solar deity. And of course, tend your garden. Find out if talking to the plants really does help them grow and project as much nurturing energy as you can muster. Happy thoughts. Then it comes time for Lunasa, which is the first fruits of the harvest. Thoughts drift towards preparing for winter, ensuring that everything will be in order. It is a time for hard work. I hope you got a good nap because now it's time to be awake and do stuff. So wrap up any loose ends from the more relaxed pace of summer and prepare for the final productive push of the year. Make a list of any tasks that need to be completed before winter. Bake some homemade bread. It's easier than it sounds at first, and it's traditional for Lunasa, and it represents the final product of productive work and as a means to sustain life. And if you still feel intimidated about baking bread, I have a fair amount of experience. You can come cry on my shoulder or ask for tips. Hopefully, I will be able to aid you and help with alleviating your worries. I promise. People figure this out. It's not as hard as what you think. And of course, take time to meditate outside if possible. Think about all the energy and effort that's required to bring in the harvest and to ensure that life continues. Expressions of thankfulness both to the gods and to farmers and other people involved in bringing the food to the table are very appropriate at this time. Then we have Mabon, which is the main harvest of the year. It's the death of the god as he sacrifices his life force at last, and the goddess is now widowed. The chill of autumn begins to drift in, canning and similar tasks are in full swing. Winter clothes come out of storage. You don't need them yet, but you will before you know it. So, time to take stock. and let go of what you don't need anymore. Review what you've been able to achieve in the past few months. What do you want to continue to build upon into the future? Is there anything that you're ready to let go of? And spend some time in nature. Experience the waning energies of the season. This is a bittersweet time of year, and things are coming to an end. You might decide to write in your journal about endings, how you feel about them, and what this represents to you on a spiritual level. And make offerings to deities who are associated with the harvest. Express your gratitude. When it comes to offerings of this kind, anything that you've grown yourself is a symbol of your thankfulness to their part, the role they play in keeping the natural processes going. That would probably be ideal. Also, make sure your household is in order. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to do a bit of fall cleaning, reorganize as necessary, and to make sure that the blankets are handy. I know in Missouri, during the Mabon season, it usually isn't too chilly. However, we do get the odd day here and there, and it's better to have the blanket and not need it than to need it and not have it. Finally, we have Samhain. The goddess descends into the underworld to join the god. He's been reigning over the dead. And traditionally, this is the time of year when livestock herds are culled, ensuring that there's going to be enough resources to care for the rest of the herd through the winter, as well as making sure there's going to be enough meat in the larder for people so they can be sustained through the winter. The veil is thinning between the worlds, and the atmosphere is absolutely charged. There's a reason why this is the favorite time of year for so many practitioners. It's also a time to give the dead their due. Whether you're visiting a cemetery, laying flowers at the graves of loved ones who've gone beyond the veil, or examining your own attitudes towards this part of the cycle, making peace with this aspect of existence is healthy to do. You could also learn about your ancestry, not just the names and the relevant dates of the people who've come before you, but learn more about the cultures and the histories of the people you've descended from. Look for the good things and be proud of those good things. You are part of a larger legacy, and you have a lot of opportunities to keep the torch of your family burning brightly and to carry on those good traditions. It's grounding, and it helps provides a sense of continuity from one generation to the next. And of course, by this time, the autumn leaves are usually giving us a pretty good show. Get outside, go admire it, enjoy it. I found that kind of atmosphere is quite conducive to writing, so consider taking your notebook and so you can scribble a few things down if the spirit so moves you. Now, you may have noticed many of these activities don't necessarily sound spiritual in and of themselves. This has been a very deliberate choice on my part because attuning to the season isn't just about conducting ritual and performing magic. It's about tapping into the flavor of energy that's going on around you, flowing with it, and being consciously aware of that ebb and flow throughout all the seasons. And that happens in everyday life and activities just as much as occurs during rituals. The mundane does have a spiritual component, just as spirituality has practical application. They are interwoven. This is where the principle of as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul, is applicable. One of the hallmarks of paganism is that there is no real division between the material and the spiritual. The illusion of separation, it lies in our own perceptions. So I hope all of this has gotten you brainstorming. I would love to hear about your your ideas. Help. It's time for tea. Clearly it is time for tea. But if you do have your own ideas about how you like to attune to the seasons and the natural flows of energies during particular times of the year, leave what you like to do in a comment here below or come see us at Blackbird's Brew on Discord. There will be a link along with a whole lot of other links in the description box below. So you have lots of ways to get in contact with us, and I hope you will consider doing so. In the meantime, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.